Welcome back to the community, everybody, and thank you all for being part of it. I really appreciate it. If you would like to make a donation or T-shirts or stickers, down in the description. Okay, today we are doing bolt-on engine mods for performance. I'm doing this because I get a little tangled up in the last few weeks with a wedding. Ugh, it's a lot more work than I thought. It's okay. So I'm cutting this video today, and then we'll go back to painting the dash, etc., etc. So let's go ahead and get on it. And in the comments section, put down what your favorite mod is, and if I've missed any, which is highly possible, of what mod that you would like to add and one that I'd missed. Don't forget, are you subscribed to VW Trends magazine? If you're not, pop down in the description and please get yours. They are back in the saddle for quite a few years now. Let's show them some love and support. Okay, so first things first, before we discuss the bolt-on mods, do this first. Make sure that your motor is running properly first, okay, before you start dissecting and taking things apart, because you don't want to change it to something else and go, it's not running right. The best thing to do first, unless you're changing the ignition system, is go ahead and change your distributor cap, your rotor, regap the points, adjust your valves, pretty much spark plugs, wires, if you're not doing those mods. Make sure the engine is running very nice first, and then you can proceed from there so that you didn't have an initial problem and then you're just carrying it over and trying to figure out, like, the heck is going on? You want the mod to be a good change. All right, so before things spin out of control here, I do want to say something about air cleaners. As we know, a lot of them have stock oil baths, and they do work very well, in all sincerity. Do I run them? No, but they do work very well. A lot of folks like to run out and grab these chrome air filters. Okay, and I know they look cool, I get it. But if you do that, you might want to upjet your stock Solux carburetor, because sucking all that air in, okay, is causing a lean condition. And I know I'm right about that. So you will want to upjet if you do decide that you wanted to go and look cool with the chrome air cleaner. There's nothing wrong with that. But understand, you're pulling all that air in that it wasn't expecting all of a sudden, and it will run a lean condition, which makes it run hot, and you lose power. And you're like, what happened? So that's just something I wanted to bring up. So let's talk carburetors first, okay? Because that's everybody's big addition all the time is carburetors. And that's not a bad thing. It's a nice bolt-on situation that you can increase power fairly quick. Now, if you see here, I have dual 40 cadrons, which are a very nice carburetor. Obviously, these are not bolted on yet. These, by far, I would have to say, is one of the more dependable ones, just in my opinion, of course. And I like them. I'm excited about running them. From my understanding, for a larger carburetor, they're 40s. They're very dependable. You get some nice juice, and not juice, out of power. And they're pretty much trouble-free after you go ahead and set them up. But let's go into this a little bit deeper. All right, let's try to keep the laughter to a minimum. Unless you feel the need to laugh hard, do it now. You done? Okay, I'm going to bring you up close and explain something here. Now, being I just gave somebody a complete carburetor, this is what I have on hand right now. So there's your stock carburetor. All right, so the fuel has to come down here and split off to 4 different cylinders. So obviously, you're pushing 40, 45 horse, whatever. I'm sure it's quite fine. But there's a couple problems that come into play here. I actually did a video on these heat risers. Now, with your heat risers, they must be cleared out all the way through. And I'm going somewhere with this. If not, and also there has been problems when it gets a little colder out, this starts icing up and liquefies the gas. It doesn't, break down or atomize properly. So switching to dual carburetors, once you get them right over top of them cylinders, then this is going on. The gas is coming from here right to there into the cylinder heads, not from the carburetor down through, over, and down. Okay, you don't have one carburetor feeding 4 cylinders. So dual carburetors are a really nice upgrade. whether you're doing 34s, 40s, things of that nature, IDFs. But when you're going from here to here, boom, that gas is right there. Now you can run dual Solex carburetors, okay? And here's a very short video clip of when I ran dual 34 Webers. And they actually ran very nice. Another one that jetted properly for your area, stuff like that, altitude, not attitude, altitude. And they will run great for a long time with very, very minimal tweaking ever. So next, another one is the dual cadrons, okay, which do run very nice. Once you set them up, you're good to go. You're done. You just got to jet them properly and you're good to go. And we have our IDFs. There's Weber 40 IDFs. There's Chinese ones. There's quite a few on the market. You even have, MP has HPMX, which a buddy of mine, Andy, who owns his shop up north of me, highly recommends them. He's had a lot of luck. Here's my buddy Sean's car with dual 40 IDFs. It picks up the pace real quick. So where I'm going with this is a very great mod. I do have footage of stock Solexes. Which run very, very nice. They really do. But we're talking about bolt-on mods. So the carburetor stuff, there you go. You can't beat it. It's a quick pick-me-up. Okay, so let's talk flywheels now. Okay, another bolt-on mod that will give you quicker revs, etc. Here is a poor excuse for a stock flywheel. This thing needs cut and cleaned up. They run around 18 to 20 pound, depending, usually around 18.5 to 19 pound, which it is ideal for stock driving to keep up the momentum, so to speak, but they are designed for stock engines, and they are typically 4 dowel, as you see on this one. Now, when you want to move over to a Lightened flywheel, which is a really great addition, at the same time, while you got that off, change your rear mainsail. I had to bring that up. Or your mainsail. Everybody gets freaked out when I say rear main. There's 2 different kinds. There is cast and chrome moly. Now the cast, if you're keeping it normal driving, 3,000-4,000 RPM, you're fine. But if you're going to start twisting over 5,500 to 6,000 RPM, which I plan on doing with my stroker motor, then you'd want to go to a chrome moly with a chrome gland nut. The Lightened flywheels that are chrome moly are one-piece construction, and they're offset 8-dowel pattern. Right, just make sure. Whoop. Oh, good thing that wasn't towards my eyes. Make sure you wipe it off. You don't want contamination on the clutch plate at all, literally. So clean it real good. All right. And they weigh approximately about 13 pounds. I have seen some that were like 6 pounds. I don't know where these guys are finding them, but I absolutely would not run one. Now, are you going to gain a ton? No, but all your little mods add up to produce nice results. You're probably going to find that you might lose slight torque, I believe. Write me if I'm wrong. But it will give your quicker reps up and down, like you hear a Ferrari going, vroom, vroom. Pretty cool, huh? But you will get quicker revs out of it. So fast up and down that way. But it's a suggestion. It's another bolt-on mod. But make sure you buy good quality. Don't buy poo-poo. So let's talk headers. Everybody's fun thing is exhaust system. because you like the sound and, you know, that's the deal. I think everybody's after that nice sound. Now, Vintage Speed makes some nice exhaust systems, and they sound very, very good. But the one I chose in Dune Buggy Warehouse, I did deal with them on this because they gave me a super discount to purchase from them. And I got to save money when I can. It was almost ridiculous how cheap they gave us to me, and I thank them for that. Ideally, you would want a pretty much equally merged header if you're getting pretty serious about performance, okay? That would give you the best performance you could get. I chose the single quiet pack because of just the direction I'm going. Yeah, that one there. Now, they do make the dual quiet pack. And of course, as you see on my 72, I used a dual glass pack. Yeah, that one. And this is what it sounded like. Now, if you do listen to my buddy Sean's again, I believe that's a sidewinder on there, which I think we're hearing the big IDF carburetors too. But upgrading to headers, if that's what you want to call them and refer to them as, it actually it improves the breathing because there's so much back pressure in the stock exhaust system, which is fine for the stock motors. But if you start playing around, you want a little bit less restrictiveness, but not too much, or then you'll lose back pressure and not have enough oomph. So I hope that made sense. You got to do this week equally so that you can get the power that you need and you're not being cheated or robbed of power. But I think a lot of people are looking for sound and mild performance when they choose these. I'm not opening this right now because I don't want to get beat up in the garage. Sorry. So what is next? Ignition systems. That plays a big part in your spark. Right now, what we have going on with stock is condenser ignition points. And you do have to adjust the points, which it's not hard to do, okay? And then, of course, we have the 009 distributors, and we also have our centrifugal advance, you know, our vacuum pots, which do run very nice. But some people like to get away from the point systems, which I completely agree with. That's fine, because you don't have to mess with them no more. If you start spiking around 5,000 RPM, those points are opening and closing between 8,000 to 10,000 times a minute. So that shows you why they start to wear down. And then you've got to get in there and file them clean, readjust. We're starting to advance a little bit more. And there's many to choose from. Now, you will have much better and consistent and stronger spark when you are going ahead with electronics. You have Petronics. CB Performance makes a nice setup. Yes, the MagnaSpark. Pat Downs puts out a nice system. I believe he used to work for CB Performance. I'm not sure, but I think he did. And there's many others that you can choose from. MP puts one out. So there's a lot that you can choose from. I just have a mechanical advance MP on my motor right now, which I hope to change when I get the extra cash. So stronger spark, more consistency. You're going to have a better running engine, fires up quicker, nice and smooth. It's just my opinion. It doesn't mean that you have to do that, but it's another nice bolt-on mod. Okay, so let's move on to rocker arms. I'm not going to pull one out. You know what they look like. Rocker arms, when you start into a high ratio like 1 1/4, you know, 1.25, they even have 1.4. Your stock ones are 1.1. A high ratio rocker arm without changing your camshaft can give you pretty much a 20 to 40% increase in valve lift without doing any other modifications. Now I'll try to keep this part brief because I could probably do a half-hour video just on rocker arms. Now when you're doing a higher ratio rocker arm, it can lead to higher horsepower at higher RPMs, improved airflow, and a much broader range. However, they can increase stress on the valve train and can reduce low end power. Now they do require proper installation to ensure the proper clearance pretty much for the valve geometry. So in a nutshell, you get increased horsepower because the higher valve lift actually lets in more airflow and fuel flow into the combustion chamber, which boosts power at higher RPMs. So you pretty much get extra boost that you would get out of a camshaft. Now, not completely, but somewhat, without splitting the engine case. So that's another nice bolt-on mod. I could go on, but I won't bore you with a long thing on one item. You're not going to see these real good, but I did buy new J-pipes. And that is something else that you could do if you'd like. Only if you're going to dump more fuel with bigger valves do you want to go with larger diameter headers or J-pipes. Now, those are 1.5 inch. They're not stock. And my exhaust system is 1.5 inch because of the valve size of my heads, big valve heads. But are J-pipes an upgrade? I think they're nice because they're out of the way when you adjust your valves compared to the heater boxes. But the inside of your heater boxes is a J-pipe. So while you think, why'd you buy them? Well, because I'm not running heater boxes. I don't like all the bulk under there for what I'm doing. So J-pipes are a nice upgrade if you're not worried about heat. Probably running a diesel heater anyhow. And that should explain that. And before you get all wild and woolly, haven't heard that saying in a while. Come up with dumb crap. There is a little chart I'll show you here. Choose wisely with the diameter of your exhaust system, because if you don't have enough back pressure, and I forgot to mention that earlier, I think, then you're going to fall on your face. Well, your car will lose power. But the point I'm trying to make is go by the size of your valves for the diameter of your exhaust and J-pipes. That should make sense. Now, like I said, I'm not going to drag all kind of parts out and play show and tell like it's kindergarten. Oil cooler. Yes, if you want your motor to run cooler and last longer, run smoother, oil cooler upgrade. The factory oil cooler, as you can see, is bolted to the engine. Fan trod covers it, and the fan turns around and blows air to cool the oil. Works fine. But if you want to run even cooler than factory, so to speak, then it's time to step up your game. If you would like to run an external oil cooler like you see here, yes, with the fan, thermostat controlled, kicks on, etc., etc., you can reduce your temperature by almost 25 to 30%. That may not sound like a lot, but it is, which will make the engine run cooler, especially if you live in a hot climate like down south or out west. Every little bit you can do will give the motor a lot longer longevity, so to speak. So an oil cooler upgrade is a huge bonus. So let's talk fuel pumps. Very nice upgrade. Now, as you know, we have mechanical fuel pumps. I don't want to open that yet. I don't want dust and dirt getting in there. There's your factory fuel pump, okay? Sometimes if you decide to go with dual carburetors, the factory fuel pumps will not keep up with them. I know you're going to debate that with me and say, I run one, and I did too. But I think there's much more horsepower to gain with switching over to an electric pump. With an electric pump, you can dial it into 3.5 to 4 PSI easily with no problem at all. And it's a very nice upgrade. Someone that I consider a very, very good friend, V8 Nate, I call him. And little Noah and Sophie, I hope you're watching. But anyhow, he was nice enough to send me a Carter fuel pump out of his own pocket, a donation to the channel, which was really, really generous of him. I don't want to open that yet because I don't want dust or dirt in it. Electric fuel pump is definitely a huge upgrade. Now remember, if you choose to go with an electric fuel pump, okay, make sure you run a relay, because if something bad happens, you know, fuel line pops off, or the car turns over on its roof, or an accident, God forbid, you want that fuel pump to shut off and quit spraying fuel. Okay, that's very, very important. So if you choose to go with electric one, please do it properly. I'll be installing this within 4 to 5 to 6 weeks. I've got other stuff to do with bodywork and paint catch up to do. And I will show the proper way to hook up a relay and what you do. And I will simplify it like I do with stuff and go step by step close up. I know I talk a lot. You're stuck with me. That leads me to the next thing. A regulator. Here is the part number to the one I have. This is actually made in Italy. And I don't really know how they're pronounced. I'll say Malpassi. Malpassi? Not sure. This was Nate approved, and I respect this young man. His knowledge is incredible. This is what it looks like on his car, the whole setup. And I don't think he minded me showing off his car. I like his car. Run a regulator no matter what you're doing so you can regulate exactly what you need and dial it in properly. My son gave me this actually, a fuel pressure gauge. And that is a nice upgrade so you can get the optimal performance out of your car when you upgrade the, carburetors, fuel pump, stuff like that. You'll be able to dial it right in, and then you will have a better performing car. I think that's what we're all after. You are, aren't you? Now, something I did learn as a kid in the garage with my father, he messed with a lot of small block Chevy. He loved them. But he always told me, cylinder heads, boy, he called me, although I was a kid. He says, the factory cylinder heads never breathe like you want them to. So he was always into taking stock heads sometimes, porting and polishing to get better airflow, things of that nature, sometimes bigger valves. Now, compared to when I was young, and this was in the late 70s when I was a kid when my dad did that stuff, and I'm sure you could buy custom heads then. Now we have them at our disposal. There's many aftermarket cylinder heads out there, and I wasn't going to stand here and show you a stock cylinder head. You know what they're like, and if you do have one you want to modify, make sure you check between the spark plug and valve. If there's a crack going through there, make sure to have it repaired or ditch it and get another head. I forgot to bring it up. So we have CB Performance, MP. There's a lot of people making custom cylinder heads now. The Panchitos seem to be really popular with CB Performance. And then I believe it's called the GTV with MP, seemed to be a good one also. Now, you can go ahead and get your upgraded cylinder heads, okay, which really helps a lot. But remember, you can't go to larger pistons unless you do 87 or an 80 millimeter slip in, and we'll go over that in a moment, without boring the case out. Yeah, that's what was done to mine. However, though, going with cylinder heads and bigger valves, porting and polishing, or Panchito heads, huge improvement. Cylinder heads are a huge improvement. There is no doubt in my mind. Now, that leads us on to pistons. Nice upgrade. However, if you add the 87 millimeter pistons, they're thin-walled. Pretty much they're easy to do. Pop the head, put them on, put the cylinder head back on. You don't get much bang for your buck. You're not going to really notice much out of them. I don't care what anybody says. They do run hotter. Some folks have ran them for many years with no issue. But I don't think it's worth tearing it apart just for 87 or 88 slip-ins really run hot unless you have the machined ones, which means you have to machine the case. Pistons are a nice upgrade if you would like to go ahead and get some of your compression back. So even stock pistons with nice fresh rings and new jugs, there you go. You get some performance back of the lost compression over the years. That makes sense? It made sense. An external oil filter gives longevity. Now, you may not get no performance out of it, but you'll get longevity, which is a great thing. Your factory setup is a screen in the bottom, okay, which is fine. It worked for many years that way with no problem. However, you can add a magnetic drain plug, big help, and also an oil filter. As you see, the two I show here come with the pumps. And some people say, well, they run hotter because it's close to the exhaust. I don't like wrapping the exhaust with wrap. I feel it holds moisture in traps and starts to rust them out. But sometimes it's nice to put a shield around them so the heat don't hit the filter, so to speak. The Mexican Beetles came factory with them, believe it or not. Nice upgrade to keep all the debris out of your engine. What is up next? A power pulley. Now, as you see on my motor, it's not a power pulley, it's a degree pulley, which is great because mine is a sand seal. There was a little nick in the engine case, no problem. A power pulley, you can have several benefits from that. Increased horsepower and quicker throttle response because it's a smaller diameter pulley. The engine can rev faster because there's less to turn over, so to speak, because it is a smaller pulley. It prevents when racing, the belt firm flipping at high RPMs. So technically, you do get a little bit extra horsepower out of it, quicker revs, especially at high RPMs. They are great. From my understanding, they actually only weigh about 1 pound, and that's the reason for quicker accelerations. I've personally never ran one yet, but they're supposed to be a great add-on. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm just saying it's a nice extra add-on, especially if you're racing. What is this? This is one piece to the puzzle for crankcase ventilation. The benefits from a crankcase ventilation, it does help prevent oil leaks because of reduced pressure and reducing oil consumption, keeping the engine cleaner, and it works on lowering the emissions. It works by regulating the crankcase pressure, which reduces excessive buildup that can blow seals and gaskets. It also captures and burns pretty much harmful blow-by gas instead of releasing them into the atmosphere. Pretty much it keeps the inside of the engine cleaner. It does help out. So what about a deep sump? Okay, now they come in 1, 1.5, I think 3-quart, many different sizes of deep sumps. Now, when you start running extra oil, if you're doing hard cornering or anything, your engine is less likely to starve from oil starvation on cornering. Also, the more oil you put in, obviously don't overfill your motor. Yeah, don't do that. You're adding, say, instead of 2.5 quarts, say you end up with 4.5 quarts, your oil will run cooler. There's no doubt. Especially if you had an oil cooler, you're talking a completely different world. And the integrated fins on them keeps your, almost like air-cooled technology, with the fins on them, it keeps the oil running cooler, which is crucial for high performance or hot weather. So the deep sump is definitely a great added addition. Now, this is not actually a performance mod, but it definitely helps as a semi-auto stick starter. Now, in 1968, Volkswagen started with the semi-auto sticks where you didn't have a clutch pedal. Well, what happens when you do that? They had to add a torque converter. The torque converters weigh approximately 39 pounds, okay? And I believe the stock flywheel is about 18 to 19 pounds. So that's almost half the weight technically, depending on the weight of the torque converter, I'm guessing, but I know I'm close. So when they did them starters, they had to make them a lot torqueier to turn over almost 40 pounds. Okay, so if you take a semi-auto stick, which I always do, the semi-auto stick starter on a standard transmission with a standard flywheel, 18-pound flywheel, or especially you get onto a 13-pound flywheel, you are talking, bam, it will turn that motor over so much quicker and easier that I had to bring it up. I know it's not a performance thing as in horsepower, but you will thank yourself. Now, I'm not telling you to change your starter, but if yours goes bad, your 4-speed starter, and you switch over to a semi-auto stick one, you don't even have to worry about the bushing inside the transmission anymore because it don't utilize it. There's no need for it. The semi-auto stick starter is the way to go. You hit that key and bam, it turns that thing over 2-3 times faster. I like it. All right, don't leave yet. You're not getting away that easy. If you're still here, say, I'm here with you, dum-dum. I don't mind. I got thick skin. So that was your bolt-on mods. Tell me what you have done and your experiences with bolt-on mods for performance-wise. Did I leave any out? There's a possibility. My brain holds a lot of information, sometimes useless information. But tell me in the comments, this is what you forgot, or I don't like this mod. I am not the Bentley manual, okay? I just do what I think is right, and I've enjoyed a lot of mods that I've used over the years. So tell me what you liked and what you've used, or something that I may have missed, because there's so many things available now for these cars. It's amazing. So why didn't I paint the dash this week? Because my daughter is getting married, and that held up a lot of things, which I'm very happy for her. She's my baby. So we are starting on the dash next week finally to paint it and get that all done. I will film the whole thing, of course, and time lapse a lot of it for except the painting part. So tonight is live chat at 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm starting the live chat a little bit earlier because people got to get up for work in the morning, and I'm switching back to Sunday nights. I think everybody's out Friday night goofing off, which I would be too, but I'm older now. It ain't as fun. So make sure to join in tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. We have a lot of fun. It's like a big family. I consider them all club members, and we pretty much have a great time. We chat about everything, not just car stuff. So I hope to see you tonight. I hope everybody had a really, really nice weekend. Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. I hope you all had a great morning.